Welcome back, everyone. We turn our attention to a major development in Nigeria's foreign relations. The federal government has rejected remarks by United States President Donald Trump, alleging widespread killings of Christians in the country and declaring Nigeria a country of particular concern. The federal government has described the label as unjustified and politically motivated, insisting that Nigeria remains committed to upholding freedom of religion and protecting the rights of all citizens. But what does this designation really mean? How might it affect Nigeria's international image? The country of particular concern tag is the U.S.'s most serious label under its International Religious Freedom Act. It typically applies to countries accused of systematic, ongoing violations of religious freedom. Nigeria was listed in 2020, removed in 2021, and now redesignated by Donald Trump. And this raises the question, is this about data or politics, or is this the U.S. overstepping? To help us unpack these questions, I'm joined by two distinguished guests. Dr. Sani Abdullahi Shinkafi is a politician, Executive Director of Patriots for Advancement of Peace and Social Development, and Engineer Nuruddin Amanyodo joins me also, is a retired naval officer, policy analyst and security consultant. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Right.
Okay, thank you for having me in the program.
Thank you very much for joining me. So there's been a lot of reactions in the last few days. Some Nigerians are scared, some are confused, and some are saying, where is all of this coming from? I mean, different opinions here and there. But President Trump has put out a tweet. How significant is it that Nigeria stood its ground against the U.S. on such a sensitive issue? Mr. Mayoro, let me start with you.
I think what the American government is doing typically is like fighting back, because if you see what has happened in the past between the Nigerian government and American government, there has been some strategic misalignment, starting from our position not receiving deportees, and then secondly, our position at the UNGA, where we took a global stage with most Committee of Nations condemning the genocide in Gaza, where America is accused of active participation, funding, and then giving a blind eye to the continuous, genocide committed by Israeli government, who are one of their strongest partners. Nigeria condemns that and took a position of the two-state solution, which is mostly a position that most nations, about 167, took. And then if you look at the third one, is how will I call it? Okay, let's leave it at that too. This is typically a misalignment between us and America. And if Trump wants to fight back, it's easy to begin to look for windows and see how they can best make Nigeria to come to the table for negotiation. But taking it to that extent of redesignating a country of 300 million plus, and then in terms of population, with these vast mineral resources, and there is a secular by nature. One of the peace we have enjoyed from time immemorial is our diversity. In fact, it is even the reason why an average Nigerian you hear talk about our unity in diversity. But somebody will just, for some reason, begin to look at it that, okay, Nigeria is accused of, persecuting a certain group of individuals because of their faith, or, denying some practices about religion, to some group of people. It is wrong. And I think if and then if you look at what has been happening to the United States, this is like a shift globally they are experiencing from so many nations. For example, the challenges they are having about the rare earth mineral that they are trying to force the Chinese government to come to the table, or to supply it to them based on their demands, and the Chinese government is not doing that. And then they know that some African countries have it. For example, in Nigeria, we have these rare earth minerals. You know, and this is my personal opinion, but if you look at it, it is an apple does not fall far from the tree. This is, we have this rare admittance. If the United States government wants it, the best way to do it is to continue with the partnership they initially, you know, engaged the Nigerian government in terms of solid mineral funding and the rest, which is strategic also for them, but taking it this way, that somebody would just wake up because of some few Nigerians who went and, you know, initiated this issue of Christians persecution, I think is a very wrong thing to do, because you cannot label a country like Nigeria with this kind of thing and then, you know, expect everybody to keep quiet. But at the same time, I really want to appreciate some of the numerous Nigerians that come out in and condemn these things, both Christians and Muslims, and then some are even holding government offices, starting from the president himself, telling the American government, we are not a country that does not tolerate religious differences. People like Matthew Kuka, Fani Kayode, you know, Senator Indume, and the like, so many of them, they did very well. So, and I think for me, this is a misalignment, but our top diplomats, which we have, some of them retired, some are still serving, are in the best position to look at these things critically and see how we can realign. Certainly there is something they want and there is something we also want from them, but it shouldn't go in this direction of labeling a country like Nigeria a country of particular concern, because to me, there is nothing like that and there would never be anything like that in Nigeria.
All right, Dr. Shinkafi, let me come to you. And this is because, you know, before President Trump went further with this name tag, I remember you and I had this conversation, as at the time it was still, you know, allegations of Christian genocide. And I remember you said it was basically nothing and Nigeria should not pay attention to it because there were some elements trying to be funny. But we're here now. The CPC label is serious operational. I mean, it signals severe concerns under the U.S. international religious framework, and it could trigger or can trigger severe consequences. So for those who say, why is Nigeria reacting so strongly? What's at stake here beyond image?
Designation of Nigeria as country of particular concern, CPC, citing International Religion Freedom Act of 1998 is a fallacy, misinterpretation, miscalculation, misleading, and misconstruction to sow a seed of discord in Nigeria ahead of 2027 election. It is clearly in Nigerian Constitution, Chapter 4 of Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, have clearly spelled out fundamental human rights. Section 34, Section 30, 33, 34, 35 have clearly spelled out right to life, right to dignity, right to religion, right to personal liberty, right of assembly, right of association are clearly guaranteed in Nigerian Constitution. So the killings of Nigerians is done by non-state actors. And these non-state actors is, in Northeast are terrorists, insurgents, that is Boko Haram and ISWAP. And their killings predominantly more Muslim than Christian. Muslims have been killed in the early morning prayers in many of these towns in the Northeast. In the Northwest, the non-state actors, that is the bandit and headers, the bandit have been killing more Muslim than Christian in Nigeria. In Zamfara State, where I come from, in Endoton Daji, armed bandits kill Muslim faithful while they are observing morning prayers. In Kizara, more than 100 people, 87 people were killed. Some were terribly injured in 2015. Many places, Bukuyum, Shinkapi, these armed bandits have been killing Muslims. So if you took out the statistical analysis, in the northwest, north central, north east, the population density of Muslim is higher than the population of Christian. In the northwest, where I come from, the total number of Christian in Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi are not up to 2% of the total population. So this issue of Christian genocide in Nigeria is concocted to cause serious security unrest ahead of 2027 election, because from some political observers saw it that Americans are seeing Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a threat to what they want to achieve in Nigeria. So they want him out. So the issue of the military intervention or military threat or diplomatic sanction is uncalled for. Nigeria is a sovereign state. It's a sovereign state. We have gained our independence for the first 65 years now. So the era of colonialism or imperialism has come to an end, and the era of slavery has been abolished for donkey years. So Donald Trump, as the Secretary of State, who designated Nigeria as a country of particular state, it is uncalled for. No any Christian can say that Christians are being discriminated or are being persecuted. This criminal cannot identify Christian and Muslim.
All right, Dr. Shinkafi, let me come in here. I mean, you've said a lot, but I want you to help us, break this down further. I mean, if President Trump is truly here to save Christians, why is he calling Nigeria a disgraced country? Second, why is he talking about coming in gun blazing? Why is he involved in the Department of War? And apart from affecting arms deal, apart from stigmatizing Nigeria in global forums, in your assessment, was the federal government's response adequately strategic?
Can you come back again, the last sentence?
Was the federal government's response adequate and strategic?
What the federal government should?
Was the federal government's response adequate and strategic?
What the federal government should respond, the federal government should go into the diplomatic discussion with the ambassador of the United States of America, who is residing in Nigeria first, and also to find a way to see how they can have a party meeting with even the Secretary of State before meeting with Trump, because this thing they are trying to rebrand or to fabricate is, as I have said, as a fallacy. It's falsehood, mischievous, trying to cause confusion in the country. So the best thing now, Mr. President, first of all, should do everything formally possible to see how they can resolve this through diplomatic relationship. And Mr. President should also appoint ambassadors as soon as possible to manage the international relationship or the affairs of Nigeria outside the Nigerian show. Because up to now, Mr. President have not appointed ambassadors, and they are the representative of Nigeria everywhere. So that there is need for them to go into intensive mobilization and campaign on the protection of the image of this country. So they are ambassadors of Nigeria, wherever they are, they represent Nigeria. So, and also the federal government should do everything humanly possible to meet with security chiefs. No stone should be left unturned to find a way to curtail this issue security-wise. With Mr. President, who is the commander of armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has been guaranteed by the Nigerian Constitution to make sure that he upholds the Constitution of this country. He will make sure that the security chiefs, that the service chiefs, should uphold the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of this country. So they should be on alert. Both the intelligence agencies, they should be on alert. All our borders, both the official border and unofficial border, should be monitored very well by NIA and other and DIA. So there should be a proper surveillance. So this is also another challenge for the new service chiefs. They have to stay very firm to make sure that they protect the sovereignty of this country. Because this threat should not be swept under the carpet.
All right, Engineer Mayoro, let me come to you. You know, I asked Dr. Shinkafi if the federal government response was adequate and strategic because, I mean, clearly the lack of transparent data allows foreign actors to define the story. If Nigeria complied credible, verifiable reports on violence, I mean, some say it could challenge some of these exaggerated claims and demonstrate some level of active state response. So should the government have coupled its rejection with concrete evidence or diplomatic engagements to counter the U.S. narrative? And in your view, what would a fair, balanced assessment of Nigeria's religious freedom look like?
First of all, the data is known. It's just that they should bring it to bear, because the gentleman here says, you know, statistically there are indices you put in place to ascertain these figures, and I think at this moment this issue of killing has not started just yesterday or last year. It has been happening for the past 15, 20 years in Nigeria. Every government has tested it. And I'm sure agencies in one way or the other, or religious bodies in one way or the other, have their own numbers. But sincerity is what is expected, you know, to really bring to bear the actual figures of what is happening. That is to talk about the data aspect of this challenge we are facing. Because if today Nigeria has, you know, done so much to have figures at their fingertips, when the president is talking, he can easily give the exact numbers that, okay, for the killings, instead of generalizing it, what has been happening in the northeast between the axis of Borno Yobe down to Gombe or even Adamawa State, the killings that have happened for the past 10 years, we have so people that died. These are Muslims, these are Christians. These are resources that were destroyed.
Engineer Mayoro, let me put you on hold.
In the northwest.
Let me put you on hold. We have to go on a break. But also, while you react to that after this break, how can Nigeria ensure that it's not just reacting to, you know, foreign judgments, but setting its own standards for human rights and governance? But I'll allow you to answer that question when we return from this break. But it's also important to say that when we return, this conversation continues on our international platforms. Please stay with us, everyone. Thank you for staying with us on the program. This is Politics Tonight, everyone. Federal government rejects Donald Trump's country of particular concern tag on Nigeria. And I've been speaking with Dr. Sani Abdullahi Shinkafi as a politician, executive director, Patriots for Advancement of Peace and Social Development. Also on the program tonight is Engineer Nuruddin Amayero, retired naval officer, policy analyst and security consultant. Gentlemen, thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Engineer Amayero, please go on with your submission. And I also asked, how can Nigeria ensure that it's not just setting its own standards, not just reacting to foreign judgment rather, but setting its own standards for human rights and governance?
You know, what we should be doing as a nation is to really talk to our citizens to understand that this is their role in the government. This is the role the citizens are supposed to play in governance. And then their rights should be protected by every means. The government should try and see whatever it is a Nigerian is doing, whether it is within the country or outside, particularly outside the country, if anything bothers a Nigerian, Nigeria should show concern. For example, let me just digress a little. We need to be educating Nigerian citizens to understand, for example, now if United States will be charging Nigeria of grievous offenses like this to the extent of even planning to bring about military action to our country, and majority of Nigerians today don't even understand on what basis are these charges coming from, who exactly is, you know, bringing about these charges, how come who even establishes these agencies, how come these agencies that today are looking at Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Most people don't even know. It's just that we talk about Donald Trump, you know, and most people you see either support him, and it's unfortunate that we have people that are not patriotic enough to even understand that without a Nigeria, you can't even be a Christian to practice your faith or a Muslim to practice your faith. That means Nigeria has to, first of all, you know, be in survival before we talk about our religion and then living generally. So we really need to understand this sense of patriotism at every interval, and we should inculcate it. We have seen it happen in the Chinese system, where the communist practice, the communist ideology are now gradually, being entrenched into the Chinese curriculum right from primary school level, for Chinese citizens to understand that this is how China should be. That's how China is, and this is how China should be even during their time. This is how they should protect the country. And the same thing with this, our country. We should love the country and protect it to the extent that whenever there is something like this, we should keep politics aside. Today we have so many big names in this country that I'm sure have a good relationship with America, but decided to stay quiet because of their political differences, either with the ruling party or because of their grievances with or their fallout with the government. And this is not patriotism. It must not be you, but it should be your country first and then you, because you owe a duty and sense of, protection to your country.
All right,
and
gentlemen.
If we cannot be doing that, then there's a problem.
All right, engineer. Now, gentlemen, let me share these two perspectives. The first one is that, every time America amplifies religious crisis in Nigeria, it's not about saving lives. It's about shaping perception, weakening unity and tightening control. The other perspective is Donald Trump is not declaring war on Nigeria. He's asking the government of the day to fulfill their constitutional obligation and protecting lives and property of Nigerian citizens by moving against, the radical Islamic killings, raping, kidnapping, and burning properties. Dr. Shinkafi, let me allow you to answer this. How does this kind of, international label intersect with Nigeria's internal security challenges?
Yeah, as I said earlier, Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and we have been guided by Nigerian Constitution, and the Nigerian Constitution spells out how Nigeria should be governed. Section 14, subsection 2 of Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended clearly spell out the primary responsibility of every government is to provide security and welfare of its people. And also, as I have said, Chapter 4, that is Section 33, Section 34, Section 35, have clearly spelled out the fundamental human rights. So these killings is being done by non-state actors. Money are being appropriated, allocated on security and intelligence and defense for the past 1.5 decades by the successive administration. And also, the killing, the widespread of killing they are talking about, they should keep religious, Christian or Muslim aside. IPOB and the Eastern Security Network have been killing Igbos, innocent people in the southeast, and they are dominantly Christian. In hundreds, those who are killing them, are they not Christian killing them? Muslims are celebrating the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the Tudunbiri in Kaduna State. They were mistakenly killed by an airstrike. So Nigeria have not been persecuting Christians. They are not killing Christians. Government is not responsible. All these killings are done by non-state actors. And it's a global pandemic. Issue of terrorism, insurgency, criminality is a global pandemic. You see, they are even Trump, as a now sitting president, when he was doing electionary campaign, he was attacked by criminals. So it is not only Nigerians we have an outlaws. It is a universal pandemic or epidemic, as I can say it that way. So nobody should now blame the sitting government of not doing the needful. Government have been doing the needful. Government have been doing everything humanly possible to uphold the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of this country. And also government have been doing everything humanly possible in the protection of lives and property. But you cannot take away the activities of this terrorism and bandit, kidnapping for ransom, extortion, and other global criminality. So Trump should concentrate in his international diplomatic problem, and also in his internal problem. You should forget about Nigeria. He has no right to interfere in the internal affairs of another country. The international that is ERPA, International Religious Freedom Act of 1999. It was an act of a National Assembly there in United States of America. Should not be applicable to here. We have our relevant laws, Criminal Act laws, Constitution of Nigeria, and many laws governing this country. So Trump is an intruder, he's an imposter. He doesn't have right to come and dictate. Because what he was doing, he's now opening doors for for ECOWAS country to abandon them and go to Russia or work with China. The issue of the critical minerals, that is the rare earth minerals. They are scavenging for these critical minerals. And the only way you can get these critical minerals is in Africa.
All right.
So most of Europe and America are scavenging for these critical minerals. Most of this crisis happening in Sudan.
I hear you, Dr. Shinkafi. Let me come in here, sir.
Economical.
Let me come in here, sir, because yes, you have said it. Donald Trump should mind his business. And yes, he needs to mind his business. But you've also initiated the importance of, connecting the CPC controversy to domestic insecurity, military performance, and government responsibility. So first, for those who say pardoning Boko Haram people and claiming rehabilitation, perhaps is the beginning of this challenge. A terrorist cannot repent. On the other hand, the UK and the US designed this rehabilitation program called Operation Safe Corridor. So from your own perspective, can a terrorist repent? And what extent did this policy influence the US and other Western countries' perception of Nigeria's counterterrorism seriousness?
You see the issue on the fight against insecurity or terrorism. You have to take two approaches, kinetic and non-kinetic approach. The issue of Operation Safe Corridor, if you want to apply such approach or such methodology, there should be a total disarmament, total rehabilitation, integration, and rehabilitation of these criminals. But the problem, most of these criminals are not ready to surrender their arms. So that should be a total military action against this criminal. The government have been doing everything humanly possible to curtail the situation. But these Western nations are also part of the people foiling this crisis. A congressman in the Senate in the United States of America said that USAID and other donor agencies are also responsible in foiling this crisis in the Northeast. So this issue of terrorism, insurgency, criminality is not something that started today or yesterday. It's something that started for many decades. If I can refresh your memory, in 1980 up to 1981, there is a Metesine riot in Kano State. In Kano State, that more than 5,800 people were killed, and they are mostly Muslim. So what will they talk about? What are they talking about? People being killed across the country mostly are Muslims. So this issue of armed banditry and insurgent armed banditry, there's a clear evidence that these Western nations are responsible for armed banditry. Because these bandits illegally mine golds and other critical minerals and also export them through the land border and through the land border. And these minerals are going to Europe. That is why during the Nigerian Mining Week, Minister of Solid Minerals, Dr. Dele Alake, said that there should be a way to monitor the illegal exportation of minerals outside Nigeria. So this is what is going on. So that they have problem with Russia. Russia is the major producer of these critical minerals. And they are also having a problem with China. And that is why they are trying to cause problem in Africa, because the only hope they have, if you could make hard Tesla invested about $500 million on this critical mineral in one of the African countries, either Zimbabwe or Zambia. So this is what they are campaigning for. They want to cause confusion and continue to extract our minerals illegally.
Thank you, Dr. Shinkafi.
And the Nigerians should come around behind this government to support Mr. President in this fight.
Right. Let me come to you, Engineer Mayuru, because I think it's important for me to get your take on this. Operation Safe Corridor policy and whether or not this policy could have influenced, the U.S. and other Western countries' perception of Nigeria's counterterrorism seriousness. Dr. Shinkafi just said these bandits are not ready to surrender. Must we continue a policy that has not worked and looks like it's counterproductive?
No, but just like what the former Chief of Defense Staff said, the fight against insecurity generally, if you want to look at it that way, is an all government and all out government and all society approach. So it's not just a government thing to either use, be it the kinetic or the non-kinetic approach as we call it, but is also a society inclusive approach where religious leaders must take part, just like the same way we see how effective religious leaders today contribute to even our understanding of what government is. The same way, these religious leaders today and other opinion leaders in our society can play a vital role in shaping the citizens. Today, if we have, what I expect the government to be doing is to come up with policies that religious leaders, respected personalities in every community will have to work together to reorient their people. And then dividend of democracy should get to the grassroots as against what is obtainable today anywhere you go. Politicians are very good in whatever that comes their way, stops with them and their friends and their cronies. It never gets watered, it never gets watered down to the least person in the society until we are able to solve all this problem. Because terrorism generally, if you look at it, is insecurity or whatever dimension you look at. It's not just about, religion or ethnicity or whatever divide. It's also about poverty. So we really have to address this issue of poverty that today is making every individual begin to look for what will I do for myself. And as a result, he finds himself, in the range of doing what is wrong. So really, it's not a government thing alone. People must learn to take part and see that we solve this problem.
All right.
So that we have an understanding with the government.
Let's forget the people for a minute. Because 3 days ago, Mr. President says, and I quote, "We cannot allow the crisis that began in 2009 to persist any longer. I charge you as the heads of our nation's armed forces to carry out your duties with a patriotic zeal. Nigerians expect results, not excuses." Now the federal government has rejected the U.S. label, saying Nigeria protects citizens of all faiths. But given this persistent violence across the country, shouldn't this be a wake-up call to strengthen our internal security systems?
Yes, of course. And in strengthening our internal security system, it calls for a general review of the security architecture. What the security architecture desires to carry out effective operation, from the military itself down to the police and even the paramilitary support we are having. Today, if you look at what we are having is short of the standard, starting from the armed forces itself, logistically and equipment-wise, down to the police and even the NSCDC. When you see our security people, but in whatever way you want to look at them, you will see anything substandard. So we really have to work on all these things.
Yes. So what should be, we have new service chiefs. We have new service chiefs. What should be their immediate priorities? I mean, if the government wants to prove to the world and to Nigerians that it's serious about ending insecurity.
Of course, this is a renewed energy. And like you said, what we should be seeing is whenever, because we've had information about numerous arrests that were made, but we never get to see it at the end of the day and what becomes of them. So what we are expecting from these new guys with the new energy is that anybody that is found supporting terrorism or any form of insecurity within the four walls of this country should really face the wrath of the law. And they should not be compromising. Because if you look at, we have issues just about the coup that happened, whether it is true or not, but conspiracy theories flying all over the country, allegations flying from one person or the other, and yet citizens are calling on the federal government to come forth with the actual, information of what really happened and what will be the fate of those that have been arrested. So these new guys that are now on the table for insecurity, Nigerians should really expect that they should do their best, support the renewed top agenda of the president, and make sure they live up to expectation, but with maximum support from the federal government, meaning their welfare should be prioritized. All the equipment that they need in carrying out their operation should be provided adequately. And again, they should be seen to be carrying out their duty without any form of compromise. And anybody, be it in the security or their supporting elements, that are found compromising should be punished and not spared for any reason. So honestly speaking, this is what personally I'm expecting, and I think is what an average Nigerian is expecting, and the president should do his best and provide these guys with the adequate resources, because till the people that exited from the CDS down to the service chiefs, they have been complaining of inadequate resources in discharging their responsibility. So these new guys that are now on the table, we expect the federal government to give them maximum support, and we expect to see a better result.
All right, Dr. Shinkafi, let me come to you, and I would like to take you upon another dimension to this conversation, which is, the conversations out there suggesting that the reluctance to expose financiers stems from the political classes' entanglement in conflict economies. I mean, saying that some financiers are politically connected. Is there truth to this? If the sponsors are untouchable elites, then how can Nigerians, trust that, how can I just trust the government's claim that it's fighting terrorism fairly? Please, I want you to help me analyze this.
Yeah, you see, time without number, even the immediate past administration of late Muhammad Buhari, of blessed memory, have been saying that they want to publish the names of the terrorism panacea. Up to today, it have not seen the light of the day. The present administration, including the former service chair, have been saying that they have known the panaceas of this terrorism and banditry, but yet they have not been made public to Nigerians. So this is also on the other part of the government, there is conspiracy of silence, because the name should be published, they should be arrested and thoroughly investigated and possibly prosecuted. So anybody who has a skeleton in the cupboard, they should open the cupboard, let everybody know what is happening. So these are one of the challenges. The conspiracy of silence is one of the stumbling block in the fight against this terrorism or killings of innocent people in Nigeria. The government should be very steadfast. The new service chiefs have said earlier they have enormous work ahead of them, that they should do everything humanly possible to fight the insecurity, the issue of terrorism, armed banditry, oil theft, and many other things. And also the government should do everything humanly possible to address the root cause of insecurity. We've been put insecurity.
Maybe we should end this conversation with this, because I remember very well that General Christopher Musa had alleged that terrorist groups operating in Nigeria are receiving foreign funding to sustain their destabilization agenda. And for the better part of that comment on naming terrorism financiers in Nigeria, he always says the process is ongoing, but naming the financiers had been delayed because the matter involves legal complexities. And his last conversation revealed that over 120,000 of these terrorists have surrendered. And when they do, they find hard currencies on them. I mean, you talked about international conspiracy and the need for a joint investigation into their findings. Engineer Mayoro, for you now, what's your perspective on that? Second, how hard is it for us to do that ourselves? Nigeria claims to have strengthened its anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing frameworks, but clearly funds are still moving.
You know, if I get you right, the federal government under the leadership of this president will really have to act and act differently by, you know, first of all, also demonstrating our strength that we are a country, a sovereign nation, and if anybody, because we have cases of foreigners also arrested in this country, but you only hear it lightly on the news and you will not get to hear it anymore. The matter is gone. So this government, to restore the confidence of Nigerians, we have illicit, you know, movement of arms in and out of our borders, and then including, you know, foreigners that will come and leave this country without any form of documentation. So I have seen this government, you know, arrested and deported so many foreigners, particularly Chinese foreigners, about 160-something Chinese foreigners that were involved in illegal mining, you know, extorting Nigerians, you know, and then taking out our mineral resources, particularly like the rare earth mineral we both mentioned here. So I think the federal government really need to do more on, you know, demonstrating their strength as a nation, because we have a lot to give out to the international community. It's just that I don't know if it is a weakness that we have developed over a long period of time that is denying us this, you know, this opportunity. But I expect this president, who is a product of democracy and understands a lot in terms of strategy, to really bring to bear his knowledge and tell the international community, because he has started. What Kashim Shettima, his vice president, did in the ONGA was a clear indication that they are new sheriffs and they are going to act differently. They stood their ground. What he is doing by replying the president of the United States that we are not a country that are not tolerating religious differences is a clear indication of that. So going forward, we really have to be doing things based on standard. If a Nigerian does anything wrong, irrespective of his culture, his tradition, his religion, or affiliation to government or some certain group, he should be seen to be bearing the full wrath of the law. And if a foreigner does the same, we should arrest and prosecute. And then we do not condone any form of, you know, misgivings from the other foreign nations, because they treat us the same way if we do anything that falls short of their standard.
All right, Dr. Shinkafi, what's your final take on this before we leave tonight?
Yeah, you see, this issue of terrorism, it has two dimensions. There are some terrorists who are indigenous, and also there is transnational terrorism. Most of these terrorists, especially in the northeast, particularly in Borno State. Borno State share border with Cameroon, with Chad, with Niger Republic. So it is very easier to smuggle small and lighter arms, weapons into the land border, and also the funding, laundering. As the engineer Norris said, these Chinese are involved in illegal mining, extracting our critical minerals, and exporting will do without any due process, or without following the regulatory rules and regulations in Nigeria. So we should have to strengthen our security. We have to strengthen the immigration system and to checkmate the illegal immigrant through the land border and the sea border and the air and the airport. So these are some of the challenges.
All right then.
Money laundering. We have to check also the issue of cyber security.
All right.
Most of these funds are also funds which are being laundered through the use of internet fraud. So all these things there should be a check and balancing.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
To strengthen the
Thank you
internal
very
security
much.
of the country.
And clearly, our real defense isn't in foreign sympathy. is a national unity and refusing to be used as pawns in global power games. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. Dr. Sani Abdullahi Shinkafi, politician, Executive Director of Patriot for Advancement of Peace and Social Development. Also on the program, Engineer Nuruddin Amayero, retired naval officer, policy analyst, and security consultant. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Please have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you for having us.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumo KW using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News NG. I'm Olajumo Latiji. Good night, everyone.